So today is a very impromptu camp. I wasn't expecting on coming out, but I finished work and I thought the weather's nice, conditions seem perfect, so let's get out, let's try the OneWind Solo Skyshade on the field. So not the highest of hills, went to the top of there, Holcombe Hill, or as it's actually called, Harcourt Hill. I've done a video on this in the past. There's a lot of history of me in this hill, somewhere that I've always wanted to camp. It's a big part of my childhood, somewhere I never have. It's also quite risky because a lot of this hill is actually owned by the Ministry of Defence, and it's actually got a shooting range over a lot of the hill. So if we don't camp, quite possibly because there's flags up and I won't be able to, I'll be up bright and early in the morning, because if they're putting flags up in the morning, they'll be up from 7 o'clock. So I need to be up, packed and out prior to that. So it's a quick one. So due to that and the time now, because it is currently 8:30 and I'm battling sunlight, I don't think I'll be cooking tonight. So it might be a case of get set up, we'll have a little chat. I'll bring you back if anything happens or there's any mishaps, this crazy temp throughout the night. And then if not, I'll see you in the morning and we'll have a little chat and I'll give it a bit of a review on what it's like to actually sleep in. So last time I came here, I went the steep route, and it's, if you're fit enough, probably the quickest route, but it's definitely the most challenging. It's a bit of a scramble. That is straight up there. Camera doesn't do it justice, but it's steep. It's not high, but it's steep. Yeah, that crippled me. What I'm going to do for today, just because it's quicker, I'm either going to go up the waterfall route or I'm going to go up the road route. Just because, like I said, I am pushed for time. Sunset's in half an hour. I don't actually know where I'm pitching yet, which doesn't help. I've tried scouting it at another stage and didn't actually find anywhere, so we will see. However, when I scouted, I was looking for my conventional two-man tents. I'm in a very tiny one-manner tonight, so fingers crossed. So I made it up to the top eventually. I'm absolutely battered. I've not been so well for a good few weeks now, so I've not really been doing any hiking, and I'm also not eating a great deal because it's really impacting on how my stomach feels. But yeah, that killed me way more than last time I did it. Maybe potentially because I've just come up in 15 minutes. I've raced up as quick as I could. I don't know if you can see the colours in the background, but the sun is currently setting. I still don't have a place to camp, but I'm continuing to look. I'm actually walking a different way on the hill than I ever have. So I've actually walked in this direction before, but never on the path that I'm on. But I can see what looks like a stile down this end. So I'm hoping I can cut through that and get in and just get on this bit of moorland that's at the side of me, if I can find a flat bit that's not boggy, because the views at this side are absolutely spectacular. And at night time, when all that's lit up over there, it's going to look something else. It is open access land, but I'm also very aware that it's also MOD land, although I haven't seen any flags up. So no flags is good news. It means that they're not shooting until 10 o'clock tonight, which means I do have right way to pass through. So I'm going to work my way up there, try and find me a flat and not wet spot. So wish me luck. So that's always a worry. Tyre tracks, and they look like they're too big for a quad, so probably maybe Land Rover tracks. I've got to some spots where I think I'm going to find somewhere, and the hill there, it's just in front of me. There's two people up there. Now, whether or not they're wild camping or they're just up there keeping an eye out for people, I don't know. But what I'm doing is I'm currently walking around there, because that's where I was aiming for. I'm going to find a bit inside the moorland, and what I'll do is I'll set up when it's virtually dark, just in case. So it's looking like I found a spot. It's the bit that I'm on is a bit I know about from when I was younger. So this was actually swampland when I was younger, but I've just checked it all. It's all really dry. Should make quite a comfortable bed. But the advantage of it is where a lot of this land is covered in like the heaps of grass. I don't know what the technical term is. My dad always told me they were called smoggies. So that's what I refer to them as. It makes it quite difficult to pitch everywhere. Whereas here, the only issue I'm potentially going to have is the pegs. But we will see where we go with that. But I'm going to try and pitch it up here. It's the last chance to lose. As you can see, I've run out of sunlight. So if we don't get it pitched now and don't get it up, I'm going home. So let's see what we can get done. So this spot, it's somewhere I used to come to when I was younger. When I was younger, there was a bit of bog around here. What's happened is it's dried out over the years. It's actually further down and stuff like that now. But I have tested the ground. It doesn't feel wet, which is good. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it shouldn't get too wet in the tent. So the two people on the top seem to not be watching down now, so that's good. Whether or not it means they've buggered off, or if they are camping, they're going to start the tents out, I don't know. But it's nice not having people watching where I'm going. As a kid, I used to live quite close by, so my dad used to bring me up here all the time. And it was somewhere that we all used to go as a family, and it's got a lot of memories. And it's all the time I've camped, somewhere I've always wanted to camp. It's quite an emotional time being up here. And I like that I'm doing it in such a crazy tent, because one way or another, it's going to give me some very interesting lasting memories, good or bad. But ever the optimist, can there really be a bad memory? Feels like it's going to be a bit windy tonight, so I don't know how well the porch is going to be open. But we'll see. May just have to ventilate the sides. It's getting pretty dark now. It's currently a 9:45. So I don't think it's going to be an over late one for me. It's like I said, it's been a bit of a rough few weeks, so I'm knackered as it is. So I think I'm going to wait till it gets dark about 10ish, something like that, and I'm probably going to go and get my head down. Like I said, the wind's picked up a little bit, so I don't know how much of the tent I'm going to have perched open and not tonight. Maybe have the side door open a little bit, just to let a bit of ventilation through, and open it all up to the winds, but we'll see where we go from there. Like I said, if anything happens during the night, it blows down or anything, I'm definitely going to let you know. I have got my filming like me, but I think it'll be alright. It seems to be held up alright. It's not a great deal less structure than anything like a Fox one, and they hold quite well. I think the only real thing that I would have liked maybe is maybe a couple of guy ropes on that front bit, but can't have everything you want. But found a nice little spot here to sit. Like I said, it's somewhere that I've never camped, but I've always wanted to up here, so it's quite cool. I was quite nervous on the way up. I've not wild camped in, I think April was the last time I did a wild camp. I went with another person who films YouTube videos and with Dylan, and we went up into the hills in Wales towards the base of Tryfan, well halfway up Tryfan, and there's like a big lake, I can't remember what it's called. And we camped there, and his tent blew down, and it was full of water. He had a Durston Xmid, and we was in 50-mile-an-hour winds. Now I was all right. I had my winter tent. It held up. Did really, really well. That the Solowildcamping Light Trek 2 is an absolute tank of a tent. But yeah, he had a bit of a rough night. And the only thing I can really fault the Solowildcamping for is the fact that it's not really a 2-manner. It's definitely a 1.5-manner, that, and a good 1.5-manner. But we looked at it, and even with 2 standard mats, I think you'd have struggled to get them in. So it wasn't going to be feasible. So we had to walk down. And the last Wildcamp I did before that was November. So I've not really done many in the past 12 months, unfortunately. And even that one, I didn't sleep so well. That was the one for my birthday. I was paranoid that because of stuff that I'd done in my past and deals that I'd made with the devil and whatnot, because I'm a lunatic. And yeah, there was a lot of creepy noises on that one. So I'd heard walking around my tent and stuff like that, and I could hear rustling in the grass stuff and things. And it turned out it's my beard on my sleeping bag. But I was sat in my tent, absolutely terrified for about 3 hours, because I could hear this walking around my tent, and it sounded like something big and not very happy, but it wasn't trying to wake me. It was just walking around in circles. And like I said, it turned out it was not walking around in circles. It was me turning around in my sleeping bag. So that was an interesting one. So yeah, I think because of them experiences, my back was up a little bit about going wild camping. And I asked Dill if he wanted to come, and he doesn't particularly like doing it wild. It scares him a little bit, I think. Obviously, as a lot of you know, Dill's autistic, so I think because it's that break from the norm, I think he gets a little bit worried about doing it. So yeah, he wasn't up for it. So it was a case of coming up on my own, and I'm not the biggest fan of solo wild camping. I find it quite boring at times. Although not as much so at this time of year when you can come really late like I have done, and you can set up. I know the one that I did for my birthday, I was set up by 3:30. It was dark for about 4:30. I was in my tent from 6, and I was only in a 1-man tent, a very small 1-man tent, and that was quite uncomfortable by the time I was going to sleep. So that was not the best. But yeah, kind of at peace now I'm up here. This moorland always has this sort of effect on me. It does something to me that just makes me feel chilled. I don't know if you can see, but I'm literally just 100 yards that way. So the tent is very much what I wanted. That is ridiculously stealthy. You can't even see where it is. Just getting a tent. Actually surprised just how roomy it feels. I've got one of the doors that's perched open on a guy rope, but yeah, there's extra headroom. Makes all the difference. I actually feel like I've got more space in this than I had in the Robin Starlight. It's a little bit breezy outside, but I won't say anything too major. 5 mile an hour, something like that. There's not a great deal of flap. I've also noticed there's a good inch, maybe 1.5 inches between the outer and this inner mesh, so yeah, that should be alright. I do think, however, I'm going to have quite a bit of condensation in the morning. It's a bit damp already. We're having to have the doors shut because it wasn't there was quite a bit of a breeze when I pitched it. The ventilation's not the best, so we'll see what happens. I've opened the back one. If need be, I can open that fully throughout the night. I've got this side open, so I might get a bit of a draft through there, but we will see what happens. But it's 10:15. I'm absolutely exhausted. I'm frigging baking inside this tent. I think I'm going to get some sleep, and I will catch you lot in the morning. You know my rules though, none of this fake waking up stuff, you'll see me when I'm up. Okay, so it's 2:30, quick update. Nothing's happened so far. Nothing really to update. The tent is working as we claim it would. It's not a bad space to be in. There is quite a bit of condensation. However, the time of day, that would be to be expected. There's a little bit of clag that was in about an hour ago, but that's disappeared. There isn't any wind at all. It's been quite an eerie night because there's no wind, no rain, no nothing. So that's meant it's very quiet. There's not even any animal sounds, which is bizarre for a wild camp. I'm literally only awake because I'm not a massive sleeper. I'm going to try and increase my ventilation actually and open up. Alright, then I think. Dark, I can't see anything out on it. But yeah, no open my back thankfully. Wow. Yeah, that's quite incredible. I instantly can feel the air coming through that. Yeah, I still don't like that it's adjustable from the inside and we're not having a flap on the outside, but for this instance, that is brilliant. An update on my concerns around that pooling and how close it is to your head. I'm choosing to actually be this far up. I don't think there's enough light for the sheet foot end, but there's acres of room at the foot end. Absolute acres. I have just pushed myself up because I want to be further. I've also got my bag and everything up at the top end, so yeah, there's loads of room. But yeah, so far so good. I actually really like this tent. All the mesh sides, all completely dry. Just the single skinned top end that's a bit wet. Like I said, with a tent this size and the fact that I've not had it open for the ventilation and the time of day where the dew's setting in, it is to be expected. So it's one of them things. But I've not had any drips or out on me, which is good. Like I said, you've got all the mesh above your head, so nothing to drip on my head anyway. But yeah, not bad. Morning. So, tent survived quite well. It's been a bit breezy this morning and it's holding up really, really well. Massively impressed, if I'm honest. It's 5:10. Been up for about 20 minutes. I've not had the best amount of sleep. Nothing to do with the tent really. I'm really surprised at the amount of room in it. It's for somebody who doesn't really do one-man tents, and I've said I'm not doing it again. I've been quite comfortable in this one. By no means would I ever be taking it out on a winter, but it's definitely going to be my go-to tent now for stuff like this where I need to be a little bit more stealthy and it's lightweight enough. One thing that has surprised me is the amount of room on the inside. Yeah, I don't sleep on standard mats or mummy ones. I'm done with mummy ones. I like a wide mat. I don't see the point for the sake of a few extra grams of falling off my mat and having my arms dangling on the floor and stuff. So it just makes sense to have something a bit wider. And I don't mind carrying the extra few grams, like I said. But even with the wide mat, this has got... yeah, it's got a decent amount of room each side. I'd say a good... my phone's 6 inches. Say width is my phone, so 6 inches. And that's probably about another 2 or 3 inches at the other side, so it's quite a lot of extra room really on the side of the pad, and it's noticeable. Like I said, you get used to being in one-man tents where standard pad's tight and a wide pad and you've got no room, so it's welcome.
Regards to the condensation, I know I talked about that last night. There's virtually nothing now. Since this wind has come in and I've opened the vent at the back, it's all gone. There's a tiny little bit here near the door, which is to be expected. Open this side, it's completely dry at the door. Tiny little bit up there above where my mouth's been, but the rest of it's dry. It was quite soggy last night. The inside there, perfectly dry. So, like I said, there was quite a bit last night, but not to a point where it was dripping or anything. It was just wet to the touch, but the good thing is, like I said, because it's quite wide, I didn't notice that. I think had I had not had this side here pinned out, I think probably wouldn't have felt as wide. I think it would have been a bit narrower. This bottom end's a lot narrower because it's with all the pulls that it actually bulges out a little bit, and I think the good thing with it is as well, even though there's the extra room at the bottom, it actually, at head height where I'm at now, is even wider by a good, probably 3 inches, 2 inches at each side. So it gives the appearance in your mind of a lot wider tent than it is. So, yeah, very impressed. I think for something that I bought just to test out because it was so bizarre, because the reviews of it was so bonkers from some people, because like I said myself, it was just tent aimed at, but I honestly can't fault it. Now, don't get me wrong, don't go and buy one off this review. I've slept in it one night in pretty good conditions, but I've had a bit of wind, nothing major, but it's not made to go into really strong winds and really heavy rain and stuff like that. That's not what this tent's intended for. It's made to be light, compact, stealthy, but with enough room that you're comfortable, and it does meet them needs. I would also like to add that the wind is coming from the sides, so I've not even put it in its strongest end to the wind. When I came and pitched last night, my intention was to sort of put it through its paces a little bit with what weather I've got. So it didn't make sense to put this side, which is its strongest end, into the wind. I wanted to see what would happen if it got a side wind. Now, you'd never put a front wind, there isn't any support on the front, so it would push down. Although I have tightened the pegs right up. I've really cinched them up last night before I went to bed, and it does seem to have quite a bit of strength. The other thing I noticed is, if you really wanted to, you could use the straps for the doors, the loops on that, and you could stick some extra guys on that if you wanted, if you ever got a front wind, just to make it out, just to give you that little bit more structure. It would be possible. I think you would be risking them breaking, but if you was in dire need and you really was at a point where that tent was caving in from that side, it just gives you an option. But like I said, I don't think you'd be taking this tent into them sort of conditions. It's not what it's made for. The same with, there's lots of tents that aren't. There's a lot of trekking pole tents that you just wouldn't be taking in extreme conditions. There's a lot of lightweight tents you just wouldn't take in extreme conditions. My tarp tent, DW Ultra, it cost me, I think I paid about £600 for that tent, and then I paid a couple of £100 importing it.
So as you can see, as standard, left absolutely no trace. You wouldn't even know I was there. It is a little bit flat where I was, but the land that I wasn't in is equally as flat. I've already walked it the other way, so why not scout along there and see if there's any camping spots a bit further up. Now I did walk a little bit further up here last night. I don't know if you can see just over there, but there's like other reeds and stuff where it's a bit wetter. I walked up to about there and then I came back because I'd seen that spot where I was, which was flat. It wasn't perfect. Like I said, I was running the risk of it being something that was once a bog that was dried out, because if we'd had heavy rains last night, there's no reason it couldn't have been. And the bog up this end is still bog, but I did choose a higher point, so if it did rain, hopefully it would drain down into the lower bits. I was only here for about 8 hours anyway, so I wasn't here for long. By the time I got into the tent, I think it was about 10:30 I got in last night. I said I was up and packed for 20 to 6. It's 6 o'clock now, and since then I've had to change cameras because I flattened my battery on the other one. I've had to get my mics back connected to this one, which wasn't the easiest of tasks, and I've had to get set up. And as anybody who knows who films, everything takes twice as long when you've got a camera pointed at you, because you've got to do different takes and stuff and that, and make sure that things have edited through and make sure that your vocals are right. So it's a lot there. What I'll do, I'll show you what the bog actually looks like when it's wet. So where I was camped last night, when I was younger, that's what that looked like. But because there's been, and I think it's an animal trail that I'm on, because there's been quite a lot of traffic up this way, it's been trampled down over the years, and it is now solid. Like what I'm walking on at the moment, I'm not sinking in or anything. It's firm. There's the odd little patch that you get, but the majority of it is really firm, and this is all the same land as what that is. And like I said, when I was younger, you couldn't have walked up this because you'd have been waist deep. And like I said, there's still elements like that, but it's if you notice that was dropped down quite a bit. I didn't see this bit last night. So I found a bit that I didn't notice last night. Considering I walked up here, there's actually a crossroads on this path, and if you look just down that way, there's a big flat spot, so that's potential for the future as well. I know this is somewhere that I want to come with Fish and Dylan at some stage. I know Fish would really like it. I don't think Dylan will come up. He could have come last night with me, but he weren't up for it. I think part of it with Dylan's having to get up really early when you Wildcamp, and especially somewhere like this. Like I said, it's 6 o'clock now. We'll already have fell runners up the top of here by now. And when I woke up, it was about 4:45 when I actually woke up, maybe 10 to. And when I woke up, it was already daylight. The sun hadn't risen yet. It's still rising now, but it was daylight already. And the fell runners will have already been out by that point, because they like to get out before all the hikers and mountain bikers and stuff are up here, which is fair enough. But obviously for things like wild camping, it makes it a little bit more tricky. And even though this path that I'm on is not very well trodden, you'll probably find that the fell runners love it because of that. So I was not following strict wild camping rules last night, because I know one of the rules is obviously you're supposed to try and be at least 100 yards away from a path. It just isn't possible. I was 5 yards away. But what I did do, because needs must, because I was running out of daylight, because I had to think of my safety, I made sure that I went onto a path that wasn't well trodden and I camped there. I also made sure, out of courtesy, if anybody's going to be about, that I was up early enough that I wouldn't be affecting anybody. I knew I wanted to bring this tent. I knew I wanted to get it tested out in a wild camping situation. I know that when I put the last video out from it, it got a lot of intrigue, this tent. There's a lot of people watched it. And I knew that because a lot of people watched it, and I knew from the comments and speaking to you guys that people wanted to see it properly tested. So I don't buy them as shiny toys. I want to be using them. Sometimes I buy them and they're almost just for me, so I'll showcase it, I'll give you a review, but then you might never see me use it. Some of them I buy and it could be months later that I use it, because I might already have plans for various different camps. Now, how do I rate the tent last night? Can't really fault it for anything really. It stood up well. I didn't manage to open up the vented front, but I didn't get the spot that I wanted to camp, and unfortunately where I was, there was no shelter at all. It was quite windy when I got here, and with the winds that were forecast from midnight, I could just see it blowing completely open. The ground was almost fairly soft, so I don't know how well the pegs would have held if the wind had picked up. If it had been like it is now, with the gusts I've got, I think it would have probably blown open. It may not have done, but yeah, I can't fault it. It did what it needed to do. It gave me adequate shelter. I was dry, I was comfortable, and yeah, it held up well, and was surprisingly spacious for a one-man tent. It really, really blew my mind, but yeah, can't fault it. Absolutely cracking little tent.